we will redo the t-shirt reveal and the dramatic no Coke, Pepsi moment, and the reminder of my love for John Belushi from Saturday Night Live, my generation. Whose channeling, with his famous line, brings together neurotransmitter stimulations of caffeine, the blues personality of John, and the samurai, and many of the things I talk about with emotional color and storytelling. He was definitely a deep channeler, a comedian who we lost far too early. And this is Storytime with Mike Lovin. I'm not going to talk about the wonderful work I did yesterday, which is pretty much done and ready to show you with categories in my blog. And if we went over to a blog and went into any post, you can see these category links here, which brings you into now a subgroup of blog posts which are by category, where the arrows at the bottom will walk you from post to post within that category. So that's really a big move forward, but this is not about that. This is about story time. So let's get into it with no further ado. Welcome to Storytime with Mike Lovin. This morning I'm just going to do I'm going to spoil 14 books for you, but that's okay. Consider it like unboxing presents on Christmas morning. Regardless of your religious affiliation, this symbolism should resonate. Ever watch The Grinch? It's an American thing. So let's get right to the good stuff. Cindy Lou Who. On Xmas morning, kids wake up to a day of surprise box opening and playing. The natural release of dopamine and serotonin in the system is quite large. That Xmas morning feeling is one of the great gifts religion has given to American culture. Or was that Coca-Cola? Either way, red and green means passion and sheen, serotonin and dopamine, generally for the good. Red Iron Man, emotional armor, stockings are hung with care next to a tree that's quite literally a Green Arrow spearhead shape. Two great emotional storytelling devices that vibe great together. Whether all this evolutionary triggering imagery was planned or just itself evolved is unclear, but it's funny looking at it under a microscope. This is not to poke fun at the rampant materialism it institutionalizes once a year, but rather to pick out the bits that can help us improve our lives daily, today. So what about this morning? There's always some sort of backdrop crap in life. I'm in the middle of a move back to an extraordinarily expensive place out of love for someone who is rejecting me, but in dire need and won't understand my actions for years to come. It's putting pressure on my new marriage, but everything is fine. I'll pull through it, and it will all be for the better for both me and them. This is just life, and it's not about me. This post is about the Wizard of Oz. This is their Dorothy adventure, and the Wizard of Oz's little-known crime and redemption arc that's as big as Darth Vader's, and which few know about, not having read the books. The wizard started out as a talented ventriloquist but humbug wizard who was all smoke and mirrors and found himself, like Dorothy, in Oz as a result of unexpected bad weather. The wizard was a circus ventriloquist floating over the Omaha State Fair in his tethered air balloon, which got swept into a mysterious land full of witches and munchkins who thought him a powerful wizard and embraced him as their leader. Not one to turn down an opportunity, and seeing no better prospects, the wizard accepted their offer and moved to Oz. Unfortunately, this amounted to a coup, and he cast out the ruling family and gave their daughter, the rightful heir to Oz, to the old witch Mombi, who turned her into a him and tried turning him, now Tip, into a statue in Mombi's garden. This is where the unforgivable act of the Wizard of Oz begins. To be perfectly clear, the Wizard of Oz, still a humbug wizard, accepting his new title and not fully knowing what he was doing, handed over Ozma, the daughter of the overthrown ruling family of Oz, and the most sweet, wise, and most powerful person in all Oz, or at least is destined to become, to an old witch who made a slave of her and turned her into a him to throw off suspicion and keep Ozma hidden. Mombi, the old witch, further intended to turn Tip into a statue in her garden. Had Tip, actually Ozma, not escaped with Jack Pumpkinhead, an animated magical friend made by Tip to scare Mombi, but turned alive by Mombi herself testing a powder of life, Ozma would be Tip, stone statue, holding a water basin for squirrels to bathe in Mombi's garden. The Wizard of Oz, at this time in the story, has been revealed as a humbug and returned to the non-magical state of Omaha in the United States. "Child, you cut me to the quick. I'm an old Kansas man myself," says the exposed wizard in the movie, then schooled by Dorothy. The book says, "I was born in Omaha," and Dorothy says, "Why, that's not very far from Kansas." Later in the story, the wizard flies off in his restored hot air balloon back to Kansas, Omaha, or wherever, but without Dorothy because Toto ran after a cat and Dorothy missed the trip, as you may remember in the scene from the movie. That's where most of the movie-educated public's knowledge ends, partial and with a most incomplete story of the Wizard of Oz himself. Well, through extraordinary means involving subterranean cannibalistic vegetable people you'll never know if you're not a reader, the wizard connects again with Dorothy, becoming part of her regular crew of peeps, thus beginning his Darth Vader-like redemption story arc, which this post is about. For you see, the Wizard of Oz is actually Dorothy's father, because you remember he's a Kansas man himself, and she lives with her Aunt May and Uncle Henry. You think L. Frank Baum did that by accident? No, of course not. It was completely intentional, and he took that secret to his grave. Nobody knows that when she ran away from home, from Aunt Em and Uncle Henry, because of the mean lady stealing her dog and taking it to be killed, that she ran into none other than her own real father, the ventriloquist. Take that, Pat. So this is your Christmas morning surprise. Surprise information is better than any material gift. This knowledge and new insight into the Wizard of Oz will be with you for the rest of your life. Something you thought you already knew has deeper meaning and, in fact, a whole series of 14 excellent books ahead of you to enjoy. There are 14 books in the Oz series written by L. Frank Baum himself. That's okay. Just start with the first 14 because they're small and decide whether to continue. You'll meet the Shaggy Man in The Road to Oz, which is one of Dorothy's many return visits. Be warned, though, they're full of violence. The Tin Woodman can break some serious neck. So there's the question. Would Ozma have been better off as the daughter of a privileged royal family? Well, she does seem naturally predisposed to compassion, wisdom, and intelligence. But who knows? Perhaps her experience as the boy Tip, with her very sheltered life of servitude and cruelty, were necessary so that she, Tip at the time, could orchestrate his own escape. Would Dorothy have been better off if she had gotten into that storm cellar and was never swept away to meet such challenges and all of her friends? Both Ozma and Dorothy's experiences were certainly the kind of coming-of-age adventures that classically help shape you and helps turn static personalities into dynamic ones. Tip to Ozma, Dorothy the evader of conflict into Dorothy the embracer of adventure. And Alice, no, Alice stayed static, you Brits. Should the wizard, upon his return to Oz, have redeemed himself for his criminal mistreatment of Ozma, trusting her to Old Mombi, and immediately done everything in his power to make good? Yes. But the wizard was still not very powerful yet and was wrapped up in his own story arc of redemption. He still had some growth to do to become powerful enough to properly help Ozma. So he helped Dorothy instead and let the two roads gradually and naturally converge. Was the wizard a bad guy? Was Dorothy wise to re-embrace him into her life on their joint return to Oz? Was the wizard hypocritical in his desire to unhumbugify himself and learn real magic? Is the wizard wrong to actively learn real magic now as the apprentice to Glinda, the Good Witch of the North? I think not. The wizard is now filling his bag of tricks with real magic. Good people recognize his redemption arc, and they love Ozma for who she is, including everything that brought her to be the wonderful young person she is today, including her time with Old Mombi. Ozma now understood to be profoundly valuable educational opportunity she would never have had in her previously privileged royal life. Ozma is stronger. Ozma is wiser. Ozma has more friends, real, true friends. Ozma now can rule Oz with the benefit of her friends, and yes, even counting the wizard among them. ZG, because Ozma belongs in my spell check dictionary. Visual block select, Shift I, minus space, escape. Turn it into bullet points for the eventual markdown. And we reach the end. Check if anyone's with me. Who knows? Who cares? It's for later on. People tune in and out. This is story time. And that takes us back to the now moment. I will switch from talking about the Wizard of Oz to my own life and my return to New York City. My child is still rejecting me, and I can understand why. All I can do is lead by example, developing my own story arc and a sort of magic, dehumbugifying myself, learning from the good Linux of the North, sharing everything I learn with you, my good friends of YouTube. And this has been Storytime with Mike Lovin. Insert the Mike poem, Mike Lovin, which, as you saw, is on my homepage. And I will somehow bring this into the modern age. I've got a mic. I like to talk. I love to talk into the mic. I love the mic. I'm Mike Lovin. I've got some tales, so let's begin. Thanks for joining me. Hope to stream to you again soon. And don't forget to subscribe and smash that live broadcast alert button. And let me finish out by publishing this. I'll give you a before and after on the new system, right? We go back to a more reasonable size. We go into the blog. We see this stuff here. And we will do @H to add a headline. Story time with Mike Lovin. And this is about the Wizard of Oz's redemption story arc. Now this is interesting. Is this one of my life stories? I guess I'll do it as @A because that's not how we do it. That was not. First we do @T to get set up with a category, and then @A. Whoops. And then @A. My life stories. And that's how I give a headline and a category. And now I save it, and I do @P for publish. And you'll see my new publishing system kick in with slice and dice. It's only going to generate this one site as opposed to before when it generated everything. I know this went up by one number from the last time I published it. I can see Git doing its thing. 4 files changed. Yep, one new file created, 149. See, it's up to 149, so there's that new file created. And press enter to continue, drops me back in here, and I can go over here. Who knows if it's been enough time? It has not been enough time, so I'll talk about something else and come back in a moment. But I will remind you that when you drill into something, and you go to the bottom, that one hasn't been categorized yet, but anything that has been categorized, when you go to the bottom of it, you will see these new links. So this one is for my static site generator. If anyone's following along with the static site generator, you can go in here and drill down into any of the, posts, which are sequential by time. Here in August of 2021 is, I guess, when it started here in this blog. And here is, I guess, just 2 days ago. But there will be more added as I retroactively go back and tag all my previous posts. Here's a way to jump into this equivalent page for other stories. Here's my life stories. And there you see, there's Storytime with Mike Lovin, the Wizard of Oz redemption arc story. And jump into that. You can see, oh, Mike Lovin, emojis survive. What do you know? That's fabulous. This is going to be great. And you can get back to that page through there. If you wanted to go through all my life story ones, you would not follow these links because this cuts across the entire blog. That would bring you from post to post in here, but you would scroll to the bottom and you would follow these. And by following those, you can follow my life story posts or any of the other ones, which are not fully categorized as they should be yet. I will be doing more organization and even adjusting my different tags so that this system works really well for me, keyword wise and storytelling and website experience wise for you. And that's about it. That was Storytime with Mike Lovin. Now, if I do a refresh here, you see it at the top, and that is this post. And When I stop, I will embed that video I just produced in here. Dead audio at the beginning and all. People can fast forward. Maybe I'll edit it. Thanks for joining me. Hope to tell you more stories again soon. And don't forget to subscribe.